What's up? What's up? It's your man, Jimmy Chan. All right, so this one right here, we need to solve this, or I should say, solve this quadratic equation, but we have to use completing the square. Okay, so since the direction says use completing the squares, I'm going to use completing the square. All right, so there's only one issue with completing the squares. That is that in order for us to start, a has to equal to 1, but if you notice, a is equal to 16. So therefore, it's not equal to 1. So what do? I go ahead and I'm going to divide every single term by 16. So now I'm going to have x squared minus 3 over 16x plus 1 over 16 is going to equal to 0. And of course, your concern is, well, now we got a bunch of fractions instead. Thank you very much. And you're absolutely right. And I'm sure that everybody loves fractions. Said by no one. All right. So let's go ahead and deal with it though. All right. So let's continue on. So that is usually step 1 right here, is that we want to make sure that a is equal to 1. The second step is typically that we move the old c to the other side. So in other words, we've been in this relationship for so long, we realize that he is no longer the right one. We got to get rid of him so that we can find our perfect match. So you got to kick him out the door, hence kick him to the other side of the door. So in order to do that, I would subtract him from my life. So now I'm going to have an x squared minus 3 over 16x, and that's going to equal to negative 1 over 16. Okay. So with that being said, however, what happens when you get rid of your old c? Kick them out the door, you find a new one. So step 3 is going to be find a new c and add it to both sides. Okay, so the equation for the new c is equal to b divided by 2 squared. My b is going to be this right here. Okay, that has always been my b, and that is always going to be my b. Okay, so that b is yikes, as you guys would say, yikes. So it's still going to be b divided by 2, but my b is negative 3 over 16. Let me rewrite that. 6. Ooh, that's big. That's good enough. All right, so I want that squared. Okay, so with that being said, I need to show the work. Showing the work always helps me factor. So it's this squared. What is negative 3 over 16 divided by 2? Okay, so really what we have here is the division of 2 fractions, the top fraction and the bottom fraction. The bottom is a fraction as a 2 over 1, so we copy change flip or keep change flip, that 2 over 1 would become 1/2, which would be in the denominator with a 16, so it'd be 16 times 2. So if you look at this, these two are going to end up multiplying by each other. So you're actually going to have a negative 3 over 32. Okay, so with that being said, that is going to equal to, that squared, -3 times -3 is going to be 9. And 32 squared is going to be 1024. So you have to add that to both sides. So let me go ahead and duplicate this here, move it out of the way so that I have a chance to actually add this to both sides. So I'm going to take this, add it to this side, and add it to this side. And let me go ahead and take this right here and slide it over to the next. All right, so step 4 is gonna be about, oops, I already used blue, so let's not use blue. Let me see, red, blue, green, let's go with purple. So step 4 is going to be, on the left side, I want a factor on the left side. And on the right side, I want to just add or subtract those fractions. All right, so now the nice part is that the left side is actually not too shabby. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. This is going to be x. Actually, let me just show you where it's going to come from. That's where it comes from. That's the reason why you want to show your work here. Don't be lazy about it. Don't just plug the whole thing in your calculator and get 9/1024. Actually do the work, because it will help you factor right here. Okay, so because if you had this to factor, you'll freak out, I'll freak out, but all the work is already done for you. All right, so now I have to add these two things here, and that is what's gonna bug me. And I have to add the 1/16 and add that to 9/1024. So what do I need in order to add two fractions? Well, what I would need to do is I need to get common denominators. So the question is, what do I need to multiply 16 by to get 1024? And the answer is I would need to multiply by 64 to get the 1024. Well, with that being said, if I multiply that on the bottom, I got to multiply that on the top. All right? So really the top is going to be -64 plus 9. So, and then the bottom is going to be 1024. So what I have here is this is equal to -55 all over 1024. All right, so now step 5 is that I'm going to go ahead and solve, and I'm going to use what we call the square root property. Okay, so the square root property tells me that if I get that square term by itself, all by itself, I can use the square root property. I can take the square root of both sides, but here is the problem. Anytime I take the square root of both sides, I have to also have the plus and minus, because I'm literally putting a square root into this problem and not just trying to take it out. All right, I'm actually putting one in. So I actually have to have the plus and minus. Nice part is that is a lot easier to solve. I have x minus 3 over 32 is equal to, all right, so the top, I'm going to do this separately. I'm going to have the plus and minus. And let's deal with the top and the bottom. So the bottom, the square root of 1024, we already know is 32. Why? Because we have to square 32 to get to 1024. And then square root of negative 55, well, I can't break down 55 because it breaks down to 5 and 11. There's no pairs. But I can pull a square root of negative 1. So I really have the I and then the square root of 55. Okie doke. All right, with that being said, I still gotta solve for x. Well, that means x is gonna equal to my 3 over 32 plus or minus the I square root of 55 over 32. Well, I'm just adding or subtracting fractions anyway, so I actually could put these two fractions together because the denominator is the same. So this is actually going to equal to the 32 in the denominator, but the top I have to add or subtract. So I got 3 plus or minus I square root of 55. And that would be my answer, and that is going to be choice C. And there we go. Right. Well, hopefully that answers your question. It does seem like the completing the squares is a long ways to go, but it is one of my favorite ways. If you have any questions, please let me know. Talk to you later. See ya. Bye.